Hello everyone, welcome back to Behind the Scenes with Bayut and Dubizzle. In this season finale episode, we have a very special guest. It's amazing that we've been doing this for more than a year, and it is our pleasure to invite to the studio the CEO of Bayut and Dubizzle and the head of MENA EMPG, Mr. Haider Khan. Hey, sir, thanks a lot for joining us today. I'm not exaggerating, but it's been, I think, a year and a half of that expectation building up of when are we going to have Haider into this behind the scenes. And again, not another exaggeration. We usually ask the team to give questions. And this is the first time that we've received so much that we had to reduce and then sort of script them through. So that's also my disclaimer. If you have any questions that is sort of off the script, that's not from me. All right.
That's okay.
I just wanted to ask, the two brands that we have, Bayut and Dubizzle, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of Bayut?
Before I start, I know you've been doing this whole series, so well done.
Thanks.
I think you've done a fantastic job, and it's always good to show what's actually happening behind the scenes. It's called BTS segment. I was thinking what comes to mind. I was probably came to heart first, then to mind. I just feel love for the brand. And why? Because I think there's so much that's gone into building it over the years by everybody over here, right? Mm-hmm. So, people I still remember when we were 3 people in the office. Yeah. When we moved to the second office, when we went and we got the second office, they said you could put 29 people over here. And I said, whoa, who's going to fill this up? That's too much space, right? So from those days to when we had outgrown that 29 people office and we had to get another floor, right? They said, we wanted the office next door. They said, the only one available is on a lower floor. And again, these offices come in fixed sizes, so we don't pick, right? They're like, okay, here's another office, and it's like, okay, who's going to fill this up now? And then moving here, and the whole journey. So a lot of people along the way, and what I'm very glad about, is that a lot of people are still here, right? You yourself included. Yeah. But there's a lot of people who have been part of this journey and continue to be part of this journey. So I think it's really just very gratifying, and just thanks to everybody. So that's what comes to mind
when you say Bayut. Yep. So I'm going to ask another one. Yep. What comes to your mind when you think of Dubizzle?
So Dubizzle is it's interesting, right? Because for the longest we were competing against Dubizzle. Obviously, I think the last 3 years since the two brands came together, a lot of that has changed, right? So with Dubizzle now, and I think what was interesting was when we took over, and finally when I could see under the hood or behind the scenes, it was interesting. I mean, Dubizzle is a very, very strong brand, right? And I think it would be fair to say that some of that, it takes a lot of time to cultivate that feeling, right? And just being very honest and open about it. So now that love is transferring a bit. It's just becoming the same, right? So for me, at the end of the day, it's more about the people who run the business. And I think a lot of that association comes from who's doing what. And I think there's just some fantastic people in Dubizzle as well. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of work to be done to take it to the next level. And it's very exciting. I was surprised how powerful it is in terms of the usage, in terms of the people that get on Dubizzle to buy and sell things. And I think it's a fantastic platform, and we continue to invest in it.
And I think it's one of those brands that you've actually got as an app on your phone. I think for any product owner, that's the biggest task to get us there so that the brand recall is there and it just keeps flowing. So that's just absolutely amazing to see.
Yeah, and I think it's just a very applicable brand to a lot more people, right? On a day-to-day basis, right? With a home, fine. Once you move in, your interest is probably not there for another couple of years, 2-3 years. And that's why we kind of did the whole mybayut segment, to kind of keep the audience engaged with things that they can do in their house and homes and in the city. But with Dubizzle, you're constantly, as your life evolves, it's your partner right there, right? So, now you need new furniture because there's a new addition to the family, or you're moving, you need to upsize, downsize, whatever the case is. Yeah. You're always moving stuff around, right? So it's constantly there, right? So I think that's pretty, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I keep thinking about, I know it's been almost a year and a half, 2 years for that matter, and this was a question that you got asked a lot of times during that period, is how did we, where did this whole merger talks begin? And I even clearly remember the day that you announced it. We were just sitting at home. That was when lockdown was at its peak. Yeah. And we were just like, oh, wow, that's amazing.
The talks obviously happened between the two parent groups for a good 6 to 9 months.
Wow.
Because when businesses come together, there's a lot of intricacies you have to deal with.
And due diligence.
Yeah, so I think that's part of, once you agree that you want to do something, and it kind of it made sense, to the two parent groups. Right. So once those discussions happen, then obviously there's a lot of work that needs to happen behind the scenes. I guess I'm going to keep using this BTS
product placements, right?
And so that work happened. Now, you're right. When the deal was announced, we were all sitting at home. Couldn't really do much, and interesting phase, right? Those 40 days, I remember. You can ask me the days I still remember. I think it was 25th March when we went into full lockdown, and I think it was 5th May when we came back to the office. At least when I came back to the office. So that was very interesting, because when it happened, we announced the deal, and yet I couldn't go and meet the Dubizzle folks. And so my first introduction to even the people at the Dubizzle side was over a Zoom call. And it's that's not how it should be, but that's how it was, because that's how everybody was sitting at home. I don't know if you remember those days, but you had to take permission to even go and do groceries, right? So clearly couldn't go in. There was no permission to go and meet the Dubizzle guys.
There's no option over there.
But all and it was also, there was just a lot of uncertainty around globally around what's going to happen. What's the business environment? So it was a very interesting time to kind of announce the deal. Right?
Yeah, and of course, since then we've just been growing immensely. And I think one of the things that we say is stronger together. It's you can actually see it when you come to the office, when in your day-to-days and so on. So I don't know if anyone's told you, but I mean, you've done a great job, and I just wanted to say that to you.
No, I think again, and I genuinely, I mean this. There's a lot of people involved, right? So there's no more I in this company, right? It's everybody, we, you, everybody. And it's genuinely a difficult thing to do, because when you're kind of merging two entities together, there's just a lot of sensitivities, right? And we've always maintained kind of that vision that we want to build more value for our users, right? You mentioned that we've done a lot of stuff over the last few years. Which we have, but a lot of it, actually, if you look at it, a lot of it has been experimentation around different things.
Right.
And there's a lot that happens that never probably even meets the surface, because we do little bit testing over here or in this sub-vertical. Right. Recently we launched verified users. There's a whole story to how we ended up with that. Funny enough, it kind of ended up with the timing of the Twitter, the blue tick, but we had been working on it for quite a while. But it was really interesting, and that it just came around the same time as Twitter was kind of talking about charging for the blue tick. And we're like, no, we what we're trying to do is we're trying to just clean, provide a cleaner experience, or provide a more secure environment to people. So a lot of experimentation. And we'll continue to do that experimentation, learn more about, it's fascinating. Each vertical is different.
That's true. Yeah.
Right? Even verticals within verticals. So if you go into electronics and then you go into phones versus cameras, they're different.
Yeah.
the user behavior is different. So it's pretty fascinating, and there's a lot to learn. So then we can build the right solutions.
The amount of importance that you put about around the people that are working in the company. One thing that you've always talked about is upskilling. So it just boggles my mind to think, how do you upskill? Like, how do you take the time to do that?
When I was doing my education, I figured out what was the hardest course. Like, I did a degree in electrical engineering, and I looked through the whole list of courses. Back then, well, I guess, I was in the age where you still, when I was going to college, you had, there was a directory of all the courses, and then the professor. So it was always a combination of okay, this is a hard course and this is a very hard professor. So this is going to be like insanely difficult. I registered for the hardest course that I could find. It was a graduate level course, and I was doing my undergrad. And halfway through it, I was like, which genius told you to do this? Because it was very difficult. But it's always about putting yourself in in an uncomfortable position and see if you can kind of
Grow out of it.
yeah, you can swim out of it, right?
Yeah.
You can learn how to get out of it, or overcome that challenge. And I think if you present enough of those opportunities to everybody at work, then everybody grows. And when everybody grows, the whole organization upscales, right? So it's not just about one person upscaling. It's really, it has more to do with, can you provide enough opportunities to people
Yeah.
to upscale them, and in doing that, you upscale the organization. And frankly, when all of these people upscale, I don't have to do anything. I just have to make sure that we're looking out for those opportunities and providing the opportunities to those kind of people.
I can vouch for electrical engineering being the toughest in any engineering program. I think the first year is when you sort of have a combination of different papers from all verticals. And every time we look at electrical engineering, we're like, why? And when we look at the people going to electrical engineering, we're like, okay, that's great. You have like 30 odd people who've chosen that. We go and ask them, how's your life doing? And all of them always have that unique talent. Like, you just know all of them are talented. I think even within our company, I know there are a few more electrical engineers. And I know all of you multitask.
I think one thing engineering teaches you is problem solving.
Yeah.
Right. So analytical problem solving. And if you can be good at that, then that can be applied to any discipline.
Right.
And that's why even back then, when I was doing my degree, you would have investment banks and everybody would come and hire out of engineering because they were good problem solvers.
That's true. Yeah.
What I've realized over the last 10, 15 years, especially working over here at Bayut and Dubizzle, is that sometimes you just become problem solvers and you forget that there's also like a big human component to things, right? You just kind of start looking at everything as numbers, and finding that balance between numbers and the world is what matters, because a lot of people are very, very smart, are very capable, but if you solve problems that don't impact what's happening today, and maybe they will be useful 10 years from now or 15 years from now, it's not possible to build a business around it, right? So I would highly recommend people take engineering as a discipline to kind of learn problem solving, but at the same time, also focus on kind of the social skills and humanities and all that, just so that you're well-rounded, right? I think that is good future leaders, right?
What in the company makes you most proud?
Is the fact that we've actually built a business that's standing on solid footing. So what I mean by that is that we're still working towards it, but we have like, we didn't. I always give this example. We didn't cook a large amount of spaghetti. We're building lasagna, right? So it's layer after layer after layer, because when you stack these layers, you can add more weight on top, right? Yeah. And I think that's one thing that we've done right, is to be able to build the organization kind of in layers, right? So and that's the only way to do it. Otherwise,
it falls apart.
Yeah, like you try to make a mountain out of spaghetti, it just goes. Right. So that's very important, because every time you go up, you don't want to come. You want to keep building on it. So I think we've got the right foundation laid out, and hopefully, and we have the right people, and hopefully these people can carry it forward. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the things that you always see in every town hall is if this company's not here, when I'm not here, then I've failed.
Yeah.
And I think looking at how we started to where we are right now, I think I can, even myself, like, just being part of it, I can say with a lot of pride that we've come a long way.
No, we certainly have, and that's very important,
Yeah.
And it might be a bit cliched, and maybe a lot of people say this, but I genuinely, like this is one thing that I, if somebody would say what would pain you the most,
Yeah.
I would say that this doesn't continue after I'm gone, right? Like that would really hurt, and I'll make sure everything. That I'll do everything in whatever capacity I can to make sure that doesn't happen.
Stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're just going to transition to a bit of Haider
Sure, okay.
from the business side. Do you have any secret talent that we don't know of?
I used to think I could sing, and that should remain secret. Because I've been told enough times not to. So by kids and everybody, they're like, please stop. I absolutely love sports.
Right.
Okay, all my life. If give me any sport, like you name it, right? And I've done something. And so that's one thing I would like to do more. If I have more time, I'd like to play more sports.
Yeah.
Obviously, keeping in mind that nowadays when I play, sometimes I pull something over here, or but I still would like to play more sports. Your question was talent. I'm telling you what I like.
No, it's actually
yeah.
Now that I think of it, I think I saw you in one of our matches that we organized with our partners, and I saw you with the jersey, and I was like, oh, he's here to support the team. That's great. And then I saw you go into the pitch. I'm like, okay. Like, what's going to happen? And then you just ran from I think it was futsal. You ran from one side of the pitch to the other side, and you actually scored. And I was like, every time I look at Haider Saab, there's something or the other that's happening.
Yeah, I mean,
you scored that day.
I did. I think it was a football match, right?
Yeah.
Look, I did score, and I think I scored a few times. Just happened to be where the ball was, and probably the other team wasn't that great. I really enjoy it, right? And it's interesting, and I see these days sometimes I go out and play. We have guys who play cricket, so I'll go play cricket with them, and they get very passionate about it, right? Like super passionately, like I'm just standing over there, just like I'm like, good for you guys, I just go out for the
fun.
for the fun of the sport, right? I've always been competitive, but it's good to see these guys. They're a bit more than what I am, but it's just it's good to go out, get a workout. You get to meet people. Mm-hmm. It's fun.
I think even in the office, I've always seen you like moving around, talking to people more. But can I ask, how many average meetings do you have in a day?
I wish I could do more, talking to more people on the floor, because that's where the work gets done, right? I try not to have too many meetings, okay? Because I just find meetings are just, frankly, to a large extent, a waste of time. Because a lot of times, you just get together and you just talk about stuff and nothing really comes out. I don't know if people know this or not, but I have a very simple rule. Like, if you can't explain to me in a single page, a single slide, then, or sometimes I've limited it to 3 slides, then don't present to me, because I'm not. I've actually sat through meetings where people have literally brought in like slide decks of like 80 slides, right? And then they start saying 1, 2, 3. Here's the thing, right? I'm not into I don't care about not into pretty presentations. Really don't care. I think what I'm really after is what's the
content
issue, and that you can explain pretty quickly. This is what we're really trying to solve, and these are a couple of possible solutions, right? Right. And we might not have the best solution, but okay, this is what it is, and and it's everything. There's no you're not going to zip from point A to point Z.
It's the 24 pit stops,
right? Now it's I'll tell you funny. Some things just leave an impression on you. this is when I was younger. I was watching. I don't know if you're familiar with Daffy Duck.
Oh yeah.
Right. The cartoon, right? And I was watching the cartoon, and Daffy Duck is kind of in a
Keeps.
planetary system, yeah, and then wants to go from planet A to Z, and so draws out a plan, which is, I'll go from A to B first, then B to C, then and planet A and Z are here, and Daffy Duck
goes all the way
around A, B, C, D. So that's not necessarily what we're trying to do, but there's also a message. I mean, there's a lot of messages, and the point is, you don't get from point 1 to point 2 or point 1 to destination, just kind of in zap, right?
Yeah.
You kind of have to bite away a little every day and get there. So a lot of times even when people are presenting, it's fine if you don't have the full solution. Is it moving the needle in the right direction, right? And so meetings. I try to avoid. I'd much rather have a one-on-one with people, and then just hear more about what you're doing and what your challenges are. And second, if we're going to sit down and talk about stuff, then keep it short, because if you can't, then I don't think you understand the problem well enough. Right? Like if you have to take 15, 20 slides to explain what the problem is, well, you better have been working on it for the last 10 years, right? Like you're actually making humanity move forward, like in in quantum physics or something like that, right? You're doing a PhD in something, but at work, like keep it short, understand it well enough to communicate it, in 2 lines, 5 lines, whatever it is, and then come up with quick solutions and move on.
And just talking about work as well, have you ever been in a burnout? And like, how do you deal with it?
It's very difficult to, how do you, it's not like, your basal body temperature goes up and you're like, I'm kind of burnt out, right? So
you sort of lose that, I believe, the intensity and the passion.
Right? No,
Never.
No, I wouldn't say never. Earlier in my career, I worked very, very hard, and again, it was like, I didn't do it for anything other than just the love of doing it, right? And like solving difficult problems. And even when I started working professionally, I always used to just go to my managers, like, give me the hardest problem that you have, and and I worked really, really hard. And then I worked so hard. Like some days I would I remember there was one time that I didn't realize I was working. It was 2 a.m. and I said, "Oh, it's 2 a.m." But I'm not done. So I just sat through the night, and it was 10 a.m. And my manager came and he's like, "Did you go home?" Because I was wearing the same clothes. I said, "No." He said, "You should go home." I said, "Yeah, I'll go." And maybe doing that for like a year and a half, that's. Not every night.
Okay.
No, that was just one example. But I was just doing it because I was loving it. And at some point, I felt like something was off, right? So maybe I don't know what burnout is, but maybe that was it. And it was not a good feeling. It was just really weird. But not over here, not at all. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Given all the startup life that you've lived, from Bayut and then Dubizzle and so on, is there any other startup that's on your radar right now?
No, I don't think about anything else. No, I literally, and so I'll tell you, I'll share some. You ask for secrets, I'll share some things with you. So I'm a pretty bad sleeper. Okay, so in fact, if I could sleep 2 hours a day, I'd sleep 2 hours a day. I used to look at my kids, and when they were younger, they would fight sleep, right? Like that's what I do, right? So I'm this if it's bedtime, I'm like, because I don't know why, but I feel like when I'm sleeping, I'm just losing out on time. That's just how I guess my mind works. So even if I wake up in the middle of the night, very bad, please don't do this. Nobody should do this. I'll open up the laptop. Right? And I'll open up the laptop and I'll go and I'll look at something that was on my mind. And I've learned not to send emails at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. But I used to do that, right? Back in the day, like, sometimes, in the early days, I remember I woke up at like 4:30 a.m., 4 a.m., and Bayut was down.
Yeah.
So, Toki, who handles DevOps, or used to handle DevOps for Bayut back then, I was trying to locate Toki. I was like, where's Toki? Where's Toki? Bayut is down. Probably only had like 4 users at that time, but I was like, why is it down, right? But what I'll do is I'll wake up. I can't go to sleep, so I'll look through some stuff. I'll make some notes, save that email as a draft, go to sleep, then come in the morning and then send it, right? So
Can I talk about the early days just a quick
sure,
bit?
sure, yeah.
So I remember, I think 2:30 a.m. and we're in Dubai. We've got a team in Romania, we've got a team in Pakistan, and so on and so forth. 3-4 different time zones. Just talking to each other. I remember very clearly on Skype. We're like, yeah, you know what? This is a problem. We should solve it. Yeah, why don't we try this? Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's do that tomorrow. Yeah, okay. And then you get the people from Romania. But aren't you guys ahead of time? Which means like 3:30 a.m. in the morning. And like, yeah, it is. Like, okay, guys.
Yeah. So when we launched, so obviously Bayut was there, but then we rewrote Bayut completely, and then we launched the new platform. Can't remember which year it was, but probably around 2016, 17, around that time. And everybody was on that Skype channel.
Yeah.
And the plan was to launch it in kind of the wee hours, like middle of the night when the traffic is lower. And then one thing or another was broken, or something was not, was what it was supposed to be. And I remember obviously all of us it was just constant back and forth going on. And I think we realized around 10 a.m. that now we need to, or maybe 9 a.m. or something, like we worked through the night, and then we realized, okay, now we need to take a break. We won't be able to launch it today.
Yeah.
I think then all of us, Romania, Pakistan, over here, everybody, we said, okay, we'll go and take a nap for 2-3 hours, and then we're back at it. And I think then we launched the
launched it
night,
the same
right?
day.
Yeah, we launched that night. So yeah, lots of good memories, lots of hard work put in by people. But it was exciting.
That's when I think Bayut became the fastest website.
Yeah. So we built that whole platform to be super fast, super, not just only fast, but also build it the right way, build it so that we can continue to use that stack for many years to come. It's fascinating that same stack now powers OLX in the region, right? So we were able to scale that. The team in Romania did a phenomenal job. They were able to scale that to just not be a property vertical, but vertical for a horizontal for all of the OLX Egypt and OLX Pakistan. These are big assets that are running on the same stack, right? So the beginnings of it were, pretty humble and small, and as I said, you bite a little bit away. Every day, at the end of the day, the sum of all of those bites is a pretty big bite.
We hope you enjoyed that conversation with Haider. Personally, I was absolutely blown away. And we hope that we can come back to you soon with many more stories from Bayut and Dubizzle. Until then, take care and see you next time.